Merkel Media.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus. Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
A crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles in Fort Lauderdale.
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you are watching us on Rockfin, Odyssey, Band.video, Vigilante.tv, or you are listening wherever podcasts are served, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your amazing and continued support. There's an option. You can share the show with your friends and family if you'd like. I certainly do appreciate it. If you want to connect with me, the website is theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Macroaggression. Thank you so much to our sponsors, our newest sponsor, EMP Shield. Listen, man, there is so much predictive programming out there that's talking about taking down the grid, blackouts, power outages, all of these things. I've got a very bad feeling about it. I'm not trying to freak people out. I'm not trying to, impose my paranoia on you. I'm just saying that I see a lot of it. And I think there's a concern behind it. And we understand what EMPs can do to the power grid. It'll fry your electronics. It'll screw up your house. It'll disable your car. It'll put you in a really bad spot. But the guys at EMP Shield got together and they developed a device that's even better than military grade. It's a device that can withstand 40 EMPs and more. Not that I couldn't stand 40 EMPs, but the device will be fine. And you can install it on your home. You can install it in your car, your motorhome, your boat, generators. All of these items, you can just install this little thing. It works like a Type 2 surge protector. Okay, you can install it to your household circuit breaker with just 4 wires. You can also just go to empshield.com and there's installation videos there. There's also installation videos on YouTube and places like that. Or you can just hire an electrician to come in and do it. Look, it's going to protect you against EMPs, solar flares, and lightning strikes. And look, this kind of goes with the whole theme of this show, which is let's be proactive as opposed to reactive. This is a device, costs about $389. We'll get you in the door for this. There's bundle packages which bring the average cost down even lower than that. But look, it's something to consider. And I don't want to, I'm not coming from a place of fear, but I am trying to say that this is something that you can prevent. If you know it's coming and we believe something like this is possible, well, look, you can install it on your house and you will be protected from it. So do this. If you're interested in this product, go to the empshield.com and read up about it. If you find something you like, use the promo code MACRO. That'll save you some money. It's available in almost every country. So international buyers, welcome. Take a look. See what you think. Also to our other Shield, Legal Shield, thank you so much to the guys over there. They've been in business for 50 years. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. And it's the collective buying power of all of us directed towards high-powered law firms in your area. It allows you access to an attorney that you probably wouldn't either be able to afford or want to afford to take care of some things. If you've got a last will and testament that you need to get done, do it. If you need a medical power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, do it. Get those things done for yourself, for your spouse. Get them finalized, take the documents, put it in your safe, and then you don't have to worry about it, because the last thing you want to do is die without a will and then allow the U.S. government to get involved in your affairs. I mean, think how bad they are with their own affairs. Do you want to allow them to get involved in yours? And you're dead, by the way, so your family has to deal with it. Thank you very much for leaving us with this headache. So look, if you don't have one, you need one. We're adults here. You gotta have this stuff. And nobody wants to spend $3,000 to go get all these documents done. So that's why I think it's a good idea if you sign up for Legal Shield to set a reminder in the first month to make an appointment with your lawyer. Tell them what you want. Tell them what you're looking for. Go in there, knock these documents out. Let them know that you'll be contacting them in the future if you have questions about legal contracts that anybody wants you to sign. If your work wants you to sign some additional document about some new medical directive you feel a little uneasy about, send it to your lawyer. You have questions about your rights, send it to your lawyer. If you're a small business owner and you don't have a legal department, but you need legal representation, there's a small business component to this as well. You can sign up for that. If you carry a gun, you can sign up for that. There's documentation for gun ownership and concealed carry people, for Identity Shield if you want to protect your identity, and credit monitoring, and all those things are available to you. All those things are available to people that have access to the resources to go hire attorneys for all kinds of things. But this has now leveled the playing field. So if this is something that you think might be right for you, you can go to the website that we built specific for this show, www.don'tgetpushedaround.com. Read up for it on your own. That's all I ask. Just take a look and see what you think. But listen, the Biden administration didn't try to hire 87,000 IRS agents to go after billionaires. They're going after waitresses and bartenders and people like you and me. Okay. Now, in the end, that didn't wind up getting through because the Republicans put a stop to it. But just understand that is the mentality of government. They always want to pick your pockets. So if you have an IRS audit for a W-2 or something like that, you have access to an attorney that can navigate that situation for you. If you've got red light camera tickets, and you want to fight it, send it to these people. They deal with this stuff for a living. They have forms that they can fill out real easy and send it to the courts and get a lot of this stuff taken care of. So look, they tell us that we have equal justice under the law. That's the sales pitch. But I don't think any of us really believe that. We all know that if you have money and you have access to good attorneys, things start to go your way. So now you've got it. We've brought it down. It's $30 a month. It's $1 a day. Access to these attorneys. You get these medical directives and power of attorneys and will and testaments done right away. And you've just paid it off for the next decade. So I don't know. It seems like a good idea to me. I'm signed up for it. I'm glad I did. My only regret is I didn't do it sooner. But if it's right for you, take a look. Don'tgetpushedaround.com. Thanks to the people over there. Well, Donald Trump ran on a platform of Make America Great Again, right? And his underlying theme was America First. Works well, right? Sounds good. I don't know if he really believed it or not. He probably did to a certain extent, his version of America First, right? Or make his version of America great again or whatever. I don't think he wanted to make America great for everybody, but at least I think he wanted to make it great for some people. I can't say the same about the Biden administration. And everybody that listens to this show for more than 10 minutes knows that I'm not on the red team or the blue team. And I feel like I'm contractually obligated to mention that all the time, because whenever you start criticizing one side, the assumption is that you are coming from the other side. And I am an equal opportunity offender. I'm critical of both of them. But lately, in the last, 6 years or so, the Democrats have proven themselves ideas I think I've ever heard. So they've moved that bar of the loony left so far left that anyone that was sort of in the middle now appears conservative by contrast. And so I guess maybe I sound conservative, or I seem conservative. I all I want is for America to take care of America first before it goes and helps everybody else. What do they tell you when you're on the airplane, when they're going over the flight safety instructions? They say, put your mask on you first before you put, if oxygen is deployed, put it on your face first before you put it on your kid's face. Right? Because you need to be conscious and everything. You need to take care of not because you don't love your kids more than you love you, but because you're going to be the one in charge. You're going to be the one making the decisions. You're going to be the one able to reach the masks and all those things. If you think about it, it makes perfect sense. You got to take care of your own thing first. Then you can sort out your kids or, people next to you or whatever, So is America going to put the oxygen mask on itself first? No. The oxygen masks have deployed from the proverbial American airline, and Joe Biden is looking to put it on Zelensky first. He's looking to put it on everybody else but you. But meet with the president of Mexico, meet with AMLO. Sure, we'll do a shared constitution. No problem. What about America? What about the border? I was just in Mexico. I was there twice on 2 different occasions in 2 different cities. I love Mexico. Mexico's fantastic. People are great. Vibe is good. It's a little, listen, man, it's not the United States. There's a reason why people leave Mexico and come to the United States, because things are a lot more organized and put together. And that's okay. And Mexico doesn't have to be the United States. It has its own charm. It's got its own great things there. But when you're talking about America and you're talking about what America's priorities should be, frankly, we should be taking care of ourselves first. We should be buttoning up our own infrastructure. We should be buttoning up our own pensions and Social Security, which is $76 trillion in debt, before making statements saying we will fund the pensions and Social Security safety nets for the Ukrainians. When Joe Biden says that, and you go, that's very generous of you. So I'm assuming our system is all good? No. Come on, Jack. Our system's totally fucked. We made sure of that. Joe Biden's made sure of that during his 50 years in office, that America comes last. And his administration right now is it's proving that over and over again. This is not my opinion on it. It happens to be my opinion on it. But I'm going to go through an itemized list of things, and you tell me. You tell me if this is just us observing the facts of the situation, which is that when it comes to prioritizing money, equipment, sending politicians places to give speeches or show their faces, every other country comes first before America. If there's anything left over, we'll maybe send Kamala on to go deal with it. 5 million undocumented people are coming across the border. What is the Biden administration's response to that? We don't know what you're talking about. Oh, well, we'll send Kamala down there in a year and a half, and then she can give us word salad about space and time. You know why? Give a shit. They don't. They don't care about the border. They don't care about America. They don't care about you. They have a different mission. And it's pretty obvious if you look at it, if you get honest about who's involved. People that are in their administration: Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, Trilateral; Anthony Blinken, Trilateral; Undersecretary, Trilateral. There's 14 members of the Trilateral Commission just in Biden's inner circle. And Trilaterals want to do away with national sovereignty. They want to get rid of borders. They want to click up the North American Union, which is Canada, the United States, and Mexico, into one super group. Like, I don't know, what's a super group? What's a super band out there? There aren't any anymore. But they're trying to put together these three countries that don't go well together, I would say. You've got Canada, which is under the Queen's influence, under that set of laws. You've got the United States, which allegedly has a constitution, though it's been shredded recently. And you've got Mexico, which is sort of like run by cartels and wealthy families. Not that America isn't, let's be clear. But you're going to integrate these three things. These are not three countries that share any sort of ethnic similarities. You have Mexico, you have the United States, and you have Canada. I mean, maybe America and Canada sort of, but ideologically, there's still some differences. And listen, if you're Canada, do you want to sign on to America's bullshit? I wouldn't if I were you. I mean, I'm not saying this like, oh, we're America and we would never want to take Mexico. Hey, Mexico, do you want our bullshit? You're going to sign on to $30 trillion in debt and another 76 trillion of Social Security debt and all this. Like, be careful what you wish for. You get everything that comes along with America. You get it all. You get the bodies in the basement and everything. And there's a lot of countries out there don't like America. So be very careful how close you associate with us. But frankly, what is America at this point? Because the Biden administration is supposed to be in charge of America, but they've outsourced that. They just did it. By the time you hear this episode, the Biden administration will have negotiated and signed a deal to give the World Health Organization authority over U.S. pandemic policy. I want to say that again, just so that you hear this. The United States has outsourced its authority with dealing with the next future pandemics, which in reality would come around once a century, right? But we now know after COVID how successful it was at remaking society that they're going to schedule this every 3 years or every 4 years. It'll be like the Olympics. Great, right? Like the Olympics, the World Cup, and pandemics. And they'll pick which country gets to be the host nation. It'll be great. You can buy tickets and t-shirts and Budweiser and Moderna can sponsor it. It'll be fucking great. I'm only half kidding. But this document will be legally binding. Okay? And it will be signed It's scheduled to be signed the last day or second to last day of February. Okay, so it bypasses Congress because of the way it was written, and upon signing, it becomes legally binding under temporary orders until Congress approves it. Now, there may not be an appetite in Congress to sign it, but my guess is that there will be. Not because people actually want this, but because those people that are in Congress are there because they have the goods on them. They are there to represent their constituents when they, part of the time and vote however they want, vote along party lines most of the time. But when there's a big one, when there's a big deal and it gets bipartisan support, which as George Carlin said, seriously fucked, then there's no deviation from that, right? And when they've made the decision that the World Health Organization is going to be in charge of this, then deal, it's part of a globalist agenda. These people at their core are in there because they have to adhere to the globalist agenda or they get thrown out. Maybe even thrown out of helicopters, however you deal with them. If you don't do what you're told when it matters most, you will not be along. You won't be around for long. So Health and Human Services head Xavier Becerra, former California Attorney General, he was in charge of creating environmental justice in California as the Attorney General. We already talked about that term. Whenever you hear environmental justice, you just know it is a huge mountainous pile of horseshit. And he was in charge of it. He's the monkeypox rollout guy. He's the guy that rolled out monkeypox and we're totally not racist by calling it monkeypox. And everyone's like, hey man, nobody said you were, except maybe you're feeling a little bit guilty. But he knows nothing about health. He's a lawyer, like most of these people are. He's a career politician in California. He was a state rep and worked his way up. Now he's the head of HHS, and he is the one that has signed us onto this. So when the Nuremberg trials come, one guy that you'll want to put up against the wall. Traitor. Our sovereignty to a unelected group of bureaucrats financed by Bill under the umbrella of the United Nations on what they are. They're not a health organization. Okay. It's part of a global, it's part of a medical police state. Is the best way I can put this. Okay. So Tedros will be running it. Tedros at the World Health Organization. Tedros, who is a known terrorist in Ethiopia. That's how he got his start. I mean, when you elevate these people to the head of the World Health Organization, high-ranking positions inside the United Nations, the litmus test for employment is not, let me see your resume. You went to Harvard. Oh, you did so well. No. No, the test is, can you subjugate your own people if needed? Can you turn the guns on them? Can you lock them up? Do you have a problem blowing people to smithereens? And the answer with Tedros is no, not at all. He proved himself in Ethiopia early on, decades ago. He's a cold-blooded killer, okay? And he's running the show. The motto for this, not my motto, their motto, the world together equitably. There's that word equitable again. Doesn't mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean that we're all equally getting gold coins here. It means that you'll equally all be eating the crickets. There's equity in that. See, that way, the guy next to you doesn't have more crickets than you. You don't have to be, you're all equally fucked in this particular case, or equally injected, because what they have planned for you is nothing short of medical tyranny. And I'm going to get into that. So it grants power to the World Health Organization to declare pandemic. The World Health Organization is going to be in charge of declaring when there is a global pandemic emergency. Now, remember, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, they declared a global emergency for monkeypox when there were 8 cases. Okay? So this isn't something where you have to, where you're going to get honesty. We're just not going to be like, well, we'll show restraint. And when it's actually a pandemic, then we'll declare it a pandemic. They're not going to do that. We know they're not going to do that. They showed us with monkeypox. I mean, it was a false start on their false start 5-yard penalty, replay second down. I mean, they monkeypox never got off the ground, but they tried it anyway. And that's a sign of things to come. And they are going to have the power to declare when there is a global pandemic emergency and manage it on top of it. So all they have to do is make the declaration, have a meeting, say Marburg is the new thing. It killed 8 people in Equatorial Guinea. We think it might kill more. It's now a global health pandemic emergency. Now the laws go into effect. So let me tell you what that entails, right? Once a health emergency is declared, all signatories would submit to the authority of the World Health Organization regarding the next 4 things: treatment, government regulations, including lockdowns and vaccine mandates. The World Health Organization would be in charge of global supply chains. Think about that for a second. And lastly, monitoring and surveillance of the populations. Put on your tinfoil sombrero here and work with me. Besides that, monkeypox part 2 is out now, right? And it's definitely going to kill you. They declare a global pandemic emergency, a legal term. And then they are now in charge. They're driving the bus worldwide for all the countries that signed up for this. They intend to get 196 countries. I'm not sure exactly how many they have. So now the World Health Organization says, we're going to tell you what the treatment is. It's remdesivir, not ivermectin, not hydroxychloroquine. You cannot use those other ones. If you do, we will close your clinic and throw you in prison. And if you're caught doing that, we'll arrest anybody that is possessing these dangerous drugs like ivermectin, which won the Nobel Prize for curing river blindness. Okay. So they'll be managing the treatment, which means they'll tell you what the only treatment is. And they'll tell you what the other treatments you're not allowed to use, right? They will be in charge of lockdowns. They will say, this is such a big deal, this Marsburg that we've got that may or may not come out of this obscure South American country. It sounds like it has the potential. If it does get out and spread everywhere, it would be a catastrophe. So we have made the decision that the entire world is locking down for the next 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And then your local sheriff will say, I don't like this. This sounds crazy. I'm not doing it. And then the feds come in and take him away to prison, because he doesn't have the authority anymore. The World Health Organization does. You know why? Because the Biden administration is going to sign over authority to them. Say what you want about Donald Trump. God knows I've said enough. He took us out of the World Health Organization. And you know what Joe Biden said? Joe Biden said, the first day of my administration, I'm going to sign us back up to the World Health Organization. And not only did he then gave them authority over the United States, over the sovereignty of the United States. They're signing it over to the World Health Organization. It's happening. So in this fake scenario that I've created in my head, now the World Health Organization says, well, global supply chains are a mess, but world together equitably, right? So what we're going to do, because supply chains are all out of whack, is we're going to make sure that the poorer countries in the world get the supply chain first, and make sure that the Western world in the United States and Canada, they don't get the supply chain going through, because after all, this is about us being equitable, and we all have to be equitable. And you first world nations, I mean, you don't know what it's like to be a third world nation. And we're going to have to make sure that we rise, that they rise up and you are pushed down. Again, that's totally crazy and unfair. And our supply chains are working better now. Everything is kind of okay. I mean, unless you're talking about, getting anything out of Russia because of the sanctions. But aside from that, we're not fighting over toilet paper yet. So the World Health Organization can come in and just dictate who gets what with the supply chains. And on top of that, they have the authority now legally to monitor and surveil the populations. Just went into effect right now. Like this, everybody has to stay home. We will allocate maybe one day out of the week that you can travel in your 15-minute city, Australia, where they already did that. And if you're caught too far from your house, the police will pull you out of the car and beat you with a stick because, it's about health and safety. They want a centralized response for vaccines and medicine and the ability to control the movement of the population of the world. That's what the World Health Organization wants. And again, a reminder, their number 2 sources of finance, government and Bill Gates. Do you trust either of those institutions? I certainly do not. Maybe I should say the Gates Foundation. I don't know. Whatever. Same thing. Just a tax shelter. So, I mean, this is utter insanity, clearly. But it's at the direction of the Biden administration. The World Health Assembly, WHA, not the WHO. The World Health Assembly is the rulemaking body of the World Health Organization, and they are also working on creating new global pandemic regulations that would also supersede the laws of the other countries. So they're going to get you from 2 angles. So they've got the World Health Organization with the health component. Then they've got the World Health Assembly, which is the rulemaking body of the World Health Organization, and they're going to get it from both ends. They're going to come at you from both ends, making it so that that their laws supersede the laws of the other countries that have signed on to this, because it's an emergency, right? Think of it from their sales pitch is, well, we would only do this in the event of an emergency. And we just went through COVID and we saw how disorganized everything was, and supply chains were a mess. Messaging was a mess. Some places were locked down. Some places weren't locked down. We couldn't flatten the curve. We couldn't slow the spread. But if the next time around, we already had all those sort of things worked out, and we just had one group, one trusted group like the World Health Organization, and they could be the ones in charge, and you would basically just surrender your sovereignty to them temporarily, of course, so that everything was efficient. You were locked down everywhere, all across the world. You were given the one treatment that you're allowed for it, which definitely is going to be a Russian market experimental gene therapy disguised as a vaccine. We know that. Don't have these problems again, because if there's one thing I know, it's the World Health Organization is really great at supply chain management. So, this is the plan. This creates a medical police state run by the United Nations. If I see blue helmets inside the United States, I'm out of here, because I will be rounded up. Now, I'm no Alex Jones. I don't have a huge presence or anything like that, but it doesn't matter. I have a voice and I talk about these things, and they can't have that. And if the United Nations in their blue helmet sets foot on the soil of the United States in order to help with a pandemic, you better believe they're going to be rounding people up. And the reason why I believe that they will be rounding people up and doing that is because you can look at what has happened in the previous countries in which the World Health Organization has sent the United Nations and the blue helmets in to help with situations, and just see how that ends. It ends in rapes, okay? It ends in destruction. That's what they do. That's who they are, and that's why they're there. So, look, this document was written in a way so that Congress didn't have to vote on it, and it supersedes state law. It's terrifying. Centralization of medical power in the hands of the United Nations and World Health Organization, and the removal of power from the people. That's what they want. That's why when I go to Anarchapulco, the theme is decentralization, right? If everything's centralized, then you can control it in one central point. You get fewer people that are the decision makers. You know where everything is going through. There's one central hub. If you want to stop it, you know where to look. If it's decentralized, it's sort of spread out and everywhere. It's whack-a-mole. So when it comes to elements like this, they want to centralize power into the hands of the World Health Organization. This is what dictators do. It's insane. The World Health Organization Pandemic Agreement also calls for member countries to implement, quote, one health surveillance, with the term health crossing over into things like climate and racism. And you take as much time as you need to connect health to racism. I mean, I guess Rodney King got his ass beat by a bunch of racist white cops and it impacted his health. Okay, maybe there's the connection. But other than that, I don't know. Are we talking about racism vaccines? Because they're coming. God, they're coming. I'm only kidding, but the more I think about it. So what they want is they want health, the term health, to be as broad as possible and cover basically all of human activity. So if there's a health emergency, the health emergency could actually mean that they say, well, there's a climate emergency, but climate is part of your health. All those people dying from heart attacks from climate change, it's definitely part of your health. And so because of all those people that are dropping, then we now have to make climate change a health emergency, and the World Health Organization is in charge. And so again, centralized into the world government, run by the medical establishment. I specifically remember having this conversation with James Corbett in the tail end of March 2020. We talked about this. He said, why put tanks on every corner when you can just have medical martial law? You're like, God, of course. Fear the virus. Stay in your house. World Bank is on board to finance One Health surveillance. I'm sure that's a surprise to nobody. Signatories also agreed to support the official narrative when it comes to information about a pandemic. Okay, there's specific language in there that says you, countries that sign on to this, you have to get on board with the narrative, which is this virus is going to kill everybody. The only way through is vaccine. You're safe and effective. We've done all the testing, all the lies, all the bullshit. You're contractually obligated to follow the narrative. They intend to, quote, conduct regular social listening and analysis to identify the prevalence and profiles of misinformation and design communications and messaging strategies for the public to counteract misinformation, disinformation, and false news, thereby strengthening the public trust. We've always been at war with Eurasia. You're not allowed to think elsewhere, otherwise about this. And so when they, so they're worried about counteracting misinformation, disinformation, and false news. This is classic projection on their part, because they will be the purveyors of misinformation, disinformation, and false news. We will be the ones calling them out on it, and they will label us as the disinformers. We understand how this works. And thereby strengthening the public trust. So you're going to silence all opposition, and therefore that strengthens the public trust? No, that's what dictators do. That's what strongmen do. They go in there and say, anybody got a problem with this? Nobody says anything. Good. Look, I've strengthened the public trust. No, you haven't. You've just scared everybody into not talking about it. And in case you are, a little confused about how they feel about the science and this information, here's a quote from UN Undersecretary General Melissa Fleming when she gave this presentation at Davos in 2022. She said, quote, "We own the science, and we think that the world should know it." Wow. United Nations owns the science. Trust the science, guys. Why would they lie, right? Let's move on. Nord Stream pipeline. The biggest story that the mainstream media has just forgot to mention, huh? I'm sure it slipped their mind, like the other Seymour Hersh stories that came out that were totally true and, they pretended like didn't exist. Look, if you haven't read the story, not that we didn't already know this, but the United States was the entity that was responsible for blowing up the Nord Stream pipelines. These are pipelines that connect Russia to Germany, and they run through. Where they blew them up, they run through Danish waters. So the Danes were consulted, and the Poles were consulted, and I don't know. I don't know if Germany knew it was coming or not, but let's just be honest about what this is. For all the United States finger pointing at Russia, saying Russia, attacked Ukraine, an unprovoked attack. First of all, they'd been provoked since 2014. Ukraine was regime changed so that they would be more amenable to United States dictates. Then the United States went ahead and started funding them and started giving them military equipment because they want a war with Russia. They want to destabilize Russia. And so the United States was most definitely doing this. Then the Azov battalion and some of the groups in Ukraine started attacking parts of eastern Ukraine, which is ethnically Russian, and murdering them. By all accounts, I think there were 18,000 to 20,000 dead civilians from some things, for things like that. So the Russians knew what was going on inside Ukraine to their ethnically Russian people that were living in Ukraine. They didn't like it. Okay. And Russia did invade Ukraine for sure, but to call it unprovoked is laughable. Okay. It's most definitely provoked. And let's get honest about the timeline. When you read Seymour Hersh's document, he mentions that in September, when the pipeline was blown up, it had been on the drawing board and it had been agreed upon 9 months earlier. 9 months earlier puts it before Russia invaded Ukraine. So we got a problem here. The United States authorized the blowing up of a Russian pipeline before the war, and that should change things. Regardless, it is a declaration of war. It is an act of war against Russia, but it is also an act of war against Germany because you just blew up Germany's gas pipeline, Russian owned, but benefiting Germany. You're going to talk about a dark winter. It's dark winter in Germany. A dark winter in a lot of places in Europe because they do not have access to this Russian oil and gas that they had coming through that pipeline. Now that's energy that was needed to fuel the German economy, manufacturing, all kinds of things, and not to mention heating homes and whatnot. They needed that. They certainly didn't need it to blow up. So once it blew up, then they have to make up for it elsewhere. So what did they do? They had to buy it from the United States. Funny. It's like, the guy that owns a window repair company by day and is out with a baseball bat busting windows out of stores at night. You come to America. Hey, can you believe this? This Russian pipeline just up and blew up. Oh, that's a damn shame, Germany. Looks like you guys need some oil. We've got LNG we can sell you. Yeah, it's 4 times more than what you're paying for it from Russia. But, desperate times call for desperate pricing. You guys don't have any options. So it looks like we'll sell it to you. But what's really crazy about this? That zero outrage from EU countries. Like they just turned and looked the other way while a pipeline was blown up by their supposed ally, the United States, who is running NATO. Let's be fair. Let's be completely honest here. The United States runs NATO. They always have the person in charge of NATO. There's always a person with American ties that is in charge of NATO. And Germany is a member of NATO. And if you attack one of the members of NATO, then it's like a gang. They're all contractually obligated to fight in that war. Well, what happens if NATO attacks NATO? What happens if the United States blows up a pipeline that benefits Germany, that dead ends into Germany and provides them with all their power? Shouldn't the EU declare war on the United States? Shouldn't Germany declare war on the United States? Shouldn't Russia? Legally, yeah. Where is it? They just decided they didn't have the appetite for it. Mistakes were made, right? Mistakes were made. Just accidentally blew up that pipeline. I'm sure you guys didn't mean to do it. I'm sure you guys didn't mean to, Germany might have been getting a little bit of wet feet, cold feet, as they say, I don't really want to sanction Russia. I mean, we're doing a lot of business with them. We need their oil and gas and got this Nord Stream situation. And I don't know if we really want to go along with these sanctions that you lunatics over there in America or us NATO people we have to get on board with. I don't really have a problem with them. And then, we've got this relationship. Well, what if you didn't have that relationship? What if we just blew the pipeline up and you didn't have the opportunity to go back? This is not what you do when you are looking out for America's best interests. This is what you do when you are a bloodthirsty psychopathic regime. This actually transcends the Biden administration. This is the deep state, that are involved in this. You destroy Germany's industry. You remove cheap gas from Europe. You force Europe to buy gas from the United States at quite literally 4 times the price of what Russia was charging for it. You've got Victoria Nuland and Joe Biden on camera saying they would destroy the pipeline, and then the pipeline gets destroyed. I mean, if this was an episode of the First 48, they'd have them down in the interrogation room showing him the video, going, how do you account for this? You're my prime suspect here. Can I get a Coke? We're going to talk. We're going to be talking all night. So again, the Polish and Danish governments had foreknowledge of the attacks. If you're Germany, Poland and Germany have never really gotten along, but if you're Germany, you're looking at Poland going, so you knew? You're looking at Denmark going, you knew? You didn't tell us? Okay. We'll remember that. We'll remember that next time. We'll remember that next time, Poland, when World War III breaks out and we storm you like we did in World War II and World War I and all the other wars that have destroyed Poland. Poland is geographically fucked. They're sandwiched in between Germany and Russia, and they always get it from both ends. But they just double-cross Germany. So one other thing that happened in a blatantly obvious move to try and distance itself from this, the United States had sanctions on the Nord Stream pipeline, but they lifted the sanctions right before it blew up, right? They just said, oh, we're going to lift sanctions on it. And like Zelensky and these guys were like, that's a bad idea. And they said, just shut up. We know what we're doing here. We're lifting sanctions on the Nord Stream pipeline, and we're going to need all of our member partners here that are looking at us funny to just shut up. We know what we're doing. We'll tell you later. And then it blows up and they go, well, it wasn't us. I mean, we liked it so much, we just removed the sanctions on it. Yeah, Joe Biden and Nuland are on camera saying that they're going to blow it up. We will end this pipeline. But, mistakes were made, right? And War III. When the United States blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, it, and that will I don't know if it'll go in the history books as being that, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a huge move and so obvious to the point where it makes you think that they want the world to know they did it. And Seymour Hersh talked about who was involved and gave the details and talked about the plan, not in generalities, but in specific details to the extent that he could without burning his source. And said, this is what they did. This is how they did it. This is where they planned it. This is how they did it. This is when they were actually doing it. This is how far along it was. They were thinking about it even 9 months earlier. Yeah. So it's a huge problem. Let's move on though. White House Steering Committee on Equity is involved. Now, a totally different subject, but the White House is, with all the things going on, we've got inflation, joblessness, infrastructure blowing up, war in Ukraine, where we're just dumping money on these guys, all this stuff. The White House, in its infinite wisdom, decided that the most important component that they could tackle right now is equity. Equity is the thing. Never mind that it's a bunch of old, rich white men in Congress that are making all these rules, but they're very concerned with equity. Doesn't that make anybody just a little bit suspicious? A bunch of people that have never given a flying fuck about anybody other than themselves are all now obsessed with equity. It's a little weird. Susan Rice, Trilateral Commission, who is tasked with implementing a sweeping radical equity program using agency equity teams. I'm not making this up. In federal departments. She is on it now. So what she is doing, Susan Rice is let me give you her background. She was Obama's national security advisor, and she's a Trilateral Commission member. Just like Jake Sullivan is Biden's national security advisor, and he's a trilateral as well, or at least they were. So that you can't hold that designation while you're in office. So you have to put your membership on ice before you join these administrations. But again, they were trilaterals up until the day they went into the administration. They put that membership on hold, go in, do their dirty work, come back, and then they can officially be members. They're a wolf in sheep's clothing. We know this. So she was Obama's national security advisor, as well as being Obama's U.S. permanent representative to the United Nations. All right. So she's the equity queen. She's the queen of equity because she's tasked with delivering equitable outcomes through government policies, programs, and activities. Again, the government doesn't care about equity. It's a smokescreen for them to remake society into this Maoist, communist shithole that they're actively working on. And they're using the Democrat run states as a test market for this. And you see how it's working. It's so equitable that they've just decided that Biden is racist. We're going to get to that in a second. Everything is the fault. Definitely white men. Definitely guys that look like me. It's all our fault. We have to be punished. And so in an attempt to right the wrongs of racism, they've implemented reverse racism, which makes perfect sense, right? So it's about making it right. It's about payback. It's about payback. So they have created, God help us all, to be installed in every federal agency while is converted into a woke DE to phrase this, but the White House has been turned into a cult. One of these woke cults that's focused on diversity, inclusion, equity, all the buzzwords. They're not interested in actually doing anything that will help you. They're interested in busy work, in remaking society in a way that destabilizes and, as Yuri Bezmenov said, demoralizes the culture. And once the culture is demoralized, they'll go along with anything. So they're trying to break your brains by breaking the fabric of society inside America. So radical remaking of government agencies under the cover of stopping inequity and racism. So they're very concerned with stopping inequity and racism, right? That's their cover story. While there are simultaneously videos that exist of Joe Biden saying things like, doesn't want his kid to go to school in a racial jungle, urban school, saying that poor kids are just as smart as white kids, and talking about being closely tied to Strom Thurmond and all of these guys that were a known racist. All you have to do is pull footage of him from the 90s saying the craziest shit in the world, and the 80s too. And he's a racist pedophile who wants to know about equity. And his entire administration, their big focus is on equity. So no congressional approval needed. Again, they don't care. They criticized Trump he was going to come in and just rule by executive order. Joe Biden is the one doing that. I've got news for you. He's the one that's doing that. I mean, maybe Trump did it from time to time too. I don't know. I'm sure with the sweeping changes to society as a whole that the Biden administration is involved in doing. So these are the agencies that are going to get themselves an equity czar. First of all, equity is a code word for reverse racism. When you hear equity, just know that it's going to be reverse racism, where used to discriminate against white people, especially men, in places like schools, universities, jobs, or access to government programs. And you're already starting to see it. You're already starting to see woke NHL, National Hockey League, trying to have a job fair in Florida where they said no white candidates are welcome. And DeSantis said, no, we're putting an end to that. You can't do that. That's reverse racism. It doesn't make you a better person by saying we're going to do that. It makes you makes you somebody looking for payback. You're not an anti-racist. You're a racist, period. So here are the departments that are about to get themselves an equity czar who's going to come in, and instead of focusing on the things that these departments are supposed to be focusing on, like as an example, the Department of Education focusing on education, which they clearly don't do anyway, the equity czar is going to make sure that there are enough non-binary, one-legged check the box so that they can continue to get all the government funding that they want. So here are the departments: Department of State, Department of Treasury, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, Department of Interior, Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, Department of Labor, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Transportation, Department of Energy, Department of Education, Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Homeland Security, the Small Business Administration, the Social Security Administration, the General Services Administration, the Environmental Protection Agency, NASA, because God knows we've got to have diverse astronauts as they're faking moon landings, the National Science Foundation, the Office of Personnel Management. What they said was that workers were going to be retrained and re-educated. You mean like in camps? Policies will be redrawn and redesigned. Get ready for the commissar is coming to re-educate you for wrongthink because you're just not woke enough. But we're the Department of Education. We're still trying to implement this shitty Common Core. Put a hold on that for a second. We've got to make sure you've got the right amount of transgenders working there, because otherwise no one will understand math. Well, I'm about to get to this because I got news for you. They don't understand math anyway. Let's pivot to education, shall we? Because when it comes to the Biden administration, he certainly is prioritizing the educational system inside America. Here's a headline, quote, "Not a single student is proficient in reading or math at 55 Chicago schools." Not a single student. 55 schools. 30 schools did not have any students that read at grade level. I want you to imagine how many school buses service one school, a public high school. I have no idea, but that's one school. All the school buses go there. Now multiply that by 30. Fill all those school buses with kids. Not one of them, not anybody on that bus could read at the grade level. I mean, we're the laughing stock of the world. 53 schools did not have any students proficient at math. Not 53 kids in a classroom. No. 53 entire schools. Not one person in 53 schools was proficient in math. If you're China, you don't need to invade America. Just let this thing play out, man. Just let it play out. It's going to be idiocracy in like a decade. The guys who's trying to cram the blocks in the wrong, trying to cram the triangular block into the circular hole. That's America. It's coming. 53 schools. Nobody is proficient at math. A serious question. What are you going to do with your life? I mean, you're unqualified to work at Burger King if you can't read and you can't figure out math. You're unqualified to work at Burger King. But even if you were, that job's getting automated and going away. So what do? You're unqualified to be like unskilled labor. I mean, maybe you could push a wheelbarrow from point A to point B, but you can't measure sheetrock, cut it properly, hang it, because you don't understand numbers, because you're not proficient in math. You can't make that calculation. You've just cost the boss a bunch of money because you keep fucking up trying to measure the sheetrock because you don't understand numbers. You're unemployable. Now, I don't know who to blame in this. Clearly, the schools are doing a bad job. That goes without saying. Common Core has been introduced, and that's scrambling kids' brains. Parents, you're not doing anything for your kids. You're not making sure that your kids understand how to count. You're not making sure you don't read to your kids at night. You didn't read to your kids when they were growing up. You didn't have them read books. Spot loves the red ball. You didn't do any of that stuff because your kids can't read. 930 schools in the state of Illinois. Out of 930 schools, just 1 out of 10 students meets the math grade level requirement. You have 930 schools. Again, not students, entire schools. 10% rate of people that understand math overall. But again, 53 schools just didn't have anybody. They're just Mr. Butowski, 0.0. In 622 schools, just 1 out of 10 students are reading proficiently. It's a fucking embarrassment, man. Abolish the Department of Education immediately. Homeschool your kids. Get them out of these government schools. They don't work to educate you. It'd be one thing if you got a great education and then they give you this woke ideology on top of it and you had to deprogram them from that. But they're not even getting a good education. They can't even read. But $150 billion to Ukraine is a great idea. As our kids are, what's that George Bush quote? I'll butcher it and then I'll sound like George Bush. We have a problem, man, But maybe we should just give Ukraine all of our tanks and weapons. We don't need them. We don't need the tanks and the weapons anymore. You know why? Because America, nobody's signing up for the woke military. The woke military can't recruit people, so they had to lower their entrance qualifications, their physical entrance qualifications, and they had to allow knuckle tattoos and neck tattoos and criminal records because they can't find anybody to sign up. And when they do find people to sign up, the people are so physically and mentally weak that they had to lower the physical requirements and they had to do away with Hell Week early on with the banging of the trash cans because people were breaking down emotionally and couldn't handle it. So they lowered the bar. It's great. Let's wrap up with this one because I think like a lot of people, this made my blood boil. And I have very low expectations for Biden and the Biden administration. But when he got on that airplane and went to Ukraine, instead of going to Palestine, Ohio, the optics of that were really bad. Told you everything that you needed to know. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about America. He doesn't care about people in Ohio or Pennsylvania or he doesn't care about people at all. He doesn't care. He may say he cares. He may do that whole song and dance about how he's looking out for you, but actions speak louder than words. Where are the priorities of Joe Biden? They're in Ukraine. You know why? Because that's his laundromat. That's where he gets his money. That's what matters to him. He had a train derailment in Ohio and it spilled a toxic cloud that the train company decided to light on fire for some stupid reason. It killed all the fish and all the chickens and all the birds, and all the people are getting sick, and it's traveling all over the Northeast and up into Canada and polluting water supply and all that stuff. Where's Joe Biden? Where's Pete Buttigieg? Donald Trump just got there. Donald Trump went there. Say what you want. Maybe he's an opportunist. Maybe he's just trying to look good. Maybe, but probably. I mean, I'm sure he cares. I'm sure Trump cares a little bit. But he's strategic, and he understands the optics of this. He understands that he beat the president there, and he got a 2 week. He was there 2 weeks late and still beat the president and the Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who announced, by the way, that he's, quote, taking some personal time. Times are tough. You know, he's got his stay-at-home husband taking care of the 2 kids, and he's just got to take some personal time while Ohio smolders and suffocates in what is being called America's Chernobyl. But Pete Buttigieg is busy. He's taking personal time. No FEMA. Can't be bothered with that. Trump sent. FEMA did. We don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. If there was ever any question about whether or not the Biden administration cares about the American people, that question was answered with this. Calls for a national divorce are getting louder, due to the obvious understanding that the people inside the Biden administration hate half of the country. They hate them. Let's not pretend that they don't. Pete Buttigieg needs to take personal time. But just a couple weeks ago, he was so concerned and focusing the majority of his time removing racism from the construction job site industry. He wanted to make sure to remove racism from there. I sold new homes for a long time. I spent a lot of time out on those job sites for those guys. You get called every name in the book. You're not removing racism from the job sites. The construction job sites, are you out of your fucking mind? Do you know the sort of insanity that goes on there? The sort of things that are said? You got to have thick skin, man. That little guy is not out there fixing anything. But of course, think about that. That's his priority. Fix the supply chain. The fact that the FAA grounded all airplanes in American airspace, the first time that's happened since 9/11 under Pete's watch. All that went on. You've got shipping issues. You've got supply chain issues at the ports. All these things can't be bothered. His focus is removing racism from construction job sites. Good luck with that. World War III is on the horizon, and we're worried about equity. America last, baby. Hey, if you like this episode, you can take the additional step right now of sharing it with your friends and family. You can follow me on Twitter @macroaggression, or you can go to the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you again soon.